podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
The corporate wars were on. They were sophisticated games played with all the stability and skill technology could devise, until saving costs became more important than life itself. At the corporate negotiations table, beautiful Judy Simmons announced a change in the rules. Beneath her tough exterior, she was shaken enough to confide in Fred Wooler, her most dangerous rival, that they would come to share the horror of what lay ahead. But even they had never heard of Steve Tidwell. He had been picked from the world's best fighting men and given an offer he couldn't refuse. What began as an exercise in tactics left out of control as mercenary army trained for the ultimate confrontation between the corporations and the rest of the world.
Sound familiar to me? To you, it didn't to me either. But that is the story of The Cold Cash War by Robert Asprin. Once again, I wanted to go ahead and do a quick unofficial proclaiming my love of the Game Anywhere tables, GAT64 Plus and GAT54 Mod portable tables, which are now on the Kickstarters. GAT64 Plus is their largest portable gaming table, and the GAT54 Mod is able to add or reduce in its size to fit your gaming needs. It is now on the Kickstarters according to this, so it'll be about 8 days from the time of this recording goes live, and they're just some awesome gaming tables that you can pretty much game anywhere, as stated before with it. They have some awesome features on there. You can fit them in your car so you can travel with them. You can roll the dice on them. They have cup holders. They're transformable. They have magnetic bottoms in the tops. You can magnet your stuff and you can put your player stuff underneath. They're portable. They have player sockets. They have player shields for those role-playing games and whatnot. They have card holders that you can even put it on your on-flight luggage. They are, like I said before, and like I'll say again, the best thing since sliced bread. Really hoping that Transforming Designs will continue to let us be a sponsor of them, and that we'll be able to bring you Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf and the games that we play so that you can know more about the tabletop gaming network and industry on one of their great tables. Well, go ahead and back them on the Kickstarters and tell them that Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf sent you. Now over to the next section, and now back on to the show. Today we're lucky enough to have on the creator of an RPG game set in that world from Battlefield Press. We are lucky enough to have on Jonathon. How you doing, Jonathon?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, especially as we ramp up to get into the role-playing games as a family. We really hope that will be awesome. And so you have a new role-playing game on the Kickstarters. What can you tell us about it tonight, Jonathon?
Well, we have a Kickstarter that is supported by the Asprin Estate that has allowed us to take the story of the Cold Cash War and turn it into a game for both the Savage Worlds and the Cephas engine. Savage Worlds is, a very popular system currently. Cephas engine is a derivative of the first edition Mongoose system. When Mongoose went to second edition, there was some people wanted to stay with the first edition, so Cephas was created out of the open contents that remain.
Cool beans. I've heard of Savage Worlds actually. When we started thinking about this whole role playing thing as a family, we looked at that one. It was kind of overwhelming to me. So just all the role playing games. But I've never heard of Cephas system or the other one you'd mentioned that it spun off of. What can you tell us about that system?
It is similar to the old style Traveler game from the 70s. Except, it's been updated, modernized a little bit. It has a more, old school science fiction feel to it, which is one of the reasons we wanted to use it, because it Cold Cash War and Asprin are both old school science fiction novels and novelists. We thought the match would be perfect. We also, because of Savage Worlds, it's flexible enough. We thought that Savage Worlds would be a good modern engine to use as well. This would make our 13th Savage Worlds setting, so we're kind of an old pro at that.
Okay, so you've made quite a. So this isn't your first rodeo then?
That is correct.
Well, that's cool. So what other ones, not to detract from this, but what other settings have you made RPGs for?
Ninja High School by Ben Dunn. We've done Gaslight Victorian Fantasy, which is our house Victorian setting. Double Spiral War, based off the material from Warren C. Norwood. Kaiser's Gate, which is an alternate World War One, where magic suddenly forms and non-human races appear in the middle of a battle.
Cool beans. So I imagine you've read the novel. Let's see here. When was it written?
1977.
Oh boy, so it's before my time, just barely. But yeah, my daughter, she says anybody born in the 70s shouldn't still be alive. So I guess I'm really getting up there in age. So yeah, I've never read it. Is it a series or just a one and done book or novel?
It's one and done, but in like 86, I'm going off memory. There was a thing called a Choose Your Own Adventure books called the Combat Command, and Asprin and Bill Fawcett wrote a sequel basically where it's where you're playing Steve Tidwell, and it's a Choose Your Own Adventure type book.
Well, that's pretty cool. So let's see here. So, what is per se somebody new to role playing games or somebody that uses those? Well, I guess somebody probably be better for somebody who already uses those systems. But why should they take a chance on this new setting, especially all the role playing games they have out there, especially the ones on Kickstarter?
Well, we think it's fairly unique. There's not a lot of science fiction settings dealing with Earth by itself, and in the setting, the future is a futuristic setting, but it's near now as compared to 1977 rather than near now compared to 2017. What I like to call alternate future. Because we've done other games that have where the future starts, in one setting and it goes off in completely different. Like one of the games that we're going to be releasing soon is for Savage Worlds is Terran Trade Authority, based on a series of art books done back in the 70s as well. And we just kept their timeline as is, and it diverges greatly from what we know and expect. And so I think it gives people an opportunity to play in a future that was possible, or at least thought possible by the authors, rather than, play in what we know to be actually what happened.
Well, that's pretty cool. So let's see here. So let's go back to the beginning, or I guess not the dawn of time, but have you always been into role playing game, or what was your first one, and how did you get into it?
1980 is when I first started playing, and I lived in Singapore. My dad worked in the oil field, so I was going to school there. We lived there, and every day at lunch, I went to the library at the school and went and ate lunch, and then I ran to the library. It was on the second floor of the building, and I would find something to read. And I'm a really voracious reader, and when I was in my youth, I would read a book or two a day because it was just, I didn't have any other time. And then I finished all the books in the science fiction section. I finished all the books in the mystery section. I was wandering around the library looking for something else to read, something that might spark my interest. And there were these four guys sitting at a conference table in the library. And when I kind of sat down, and they were playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I was fascinated by it, and so they rolled me up a character, and I sat in on the next session, and I have been hooked ever since.
Cool. So, a lot of people I talk to have gone on a hiatus and whatnot. I know I've been on a hiatus for like 20 plus years or whatnot. Did you experience that as well, or you just been going ever since, you said?
I have been going ever since.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, has it always? I know you've made the new. You've built some games and whatnot. But when did you divert from Dungeons and Dragons, or has that always been in the timeline for you?
It is something I've always played, but it wasn't until probably '85 that I knew other games existed. Because I lived overseas and I lived in a rural town in Arkansas after we moved back, and for a couple years, and so the only thing I had was my Dungeons and Dragons material, and I knew other people at my school that played it, and then we moved back to my hometown probably in 1985, and somebody in school had a copy of the Marvel Superheroes game, and so I started playing that because I'm a big comic book geek, and then Gamma World and Top Secret. So all my early games were all TSR, made by TSR. And then I discovered, DC Heroes and various other games. Star Trek was one that I discovered in high school. My girlfriend at the time owned it, and she didn't know what it was. And I'm going, hey, it's a role-playing game. And so I taught her how to play it.
Cool. There you go. So let's see here. In regards to role-playing systems and whatnot, have you found a system that is your favorite?
No, because I like pretty much everything. I mean, I have quite the collection, and I buy them for different reasons. Some of them are not necessarily something that I would play, but I love the setting material. Some games, I love the system, but not the setting. I have a collection of books that ranges, from the very first book I ever got in 1980 to, the one that just came today in the mail, which, was, well, the very first thing I got was, for Christmas in 1980, I got the Dungeon Master's Guide for the first edition D&D. Today, my Kickstarter prize was Dungeon Fantasy by PCGen Games. So I range the gambit. I don't just write for stuff for Savage Worlds or Pathfinder. Also, written stuff for Modifius's 2D20 and the Hood game from Purelight Games and some stuff for Tiny Dungeon from Gallant Knight. So, I mean, there's a lot of games. Having a favorite depends on what you want to do with it. If you have a favorite pickup game, for me, that's going to be, right now, that's the Tiny System, Gallant Knight's Tiny System. I really love that. If I'm going to do a favorite Star Trek game, it's currently it's Modifius's 2D20 Star Trek Adventures. Fantasy, I tend to default back to D&D, but I also love GURPS and Earthdawn. So I guess it really depends on what I want to play.
Cool. So do you do a lot of one and dones, or do you just keep playing more and more adventures or whatnot?
I will play until the group either dissolves or wants to stop. Sometimes we stop and put a game on hiatus and go to something else, and we play that a while and we come back to the original game. Like currently, I have been running on and off for Pathfinder. I've been running the Dragonlance campaign, So we'll play that, and then we'll take a break for like 3 months and play something else, especially right there when it's heavy convention time. Because I go do a lot of summer conventions, and we can't just meet to play because I'm gone out of town and stuff. So we'll pick something else and run. We also will occasionally do a night that's not on a regular game night and pick a totally different system to play. just so we don't get bored with what we're playing. And I have a group that says, you go, I want to play X, and they go, okay, and so we roll up characters and play. But we can sometimes get in 4 or 5 sessions of different things during a month.
Cool beans. So let's see. So for beginners, do you ever play with like people who are new to role playing?
I do, and I have games that are designed for that. Like we did Ninja High School, Ninja High School. We rolled that up as a D6 system so new players could get into it. Also, I did a game called Mighty Tiny based off of a manga by Ben Dunn, which is about mice that have evolved in a post-apocalyptic society, and they're like equivalent of World War One in technology. The Tiny series, Tiny Dungeon, Tiny Frontiers are all good for new players. I also have a copy of the Tales of Equestria, the My Little Pony game, which is also good for new players.
Oh, cool. I think my daughters would love that one. So going in regard to that, because I've tried, like I said, I tried to get into Savage Worlds and stuff, and just trying to get into them, reading the rules and all the stuff that it seems like you have to do. It just seems really overwhelming to me. Do you get that from other new beginners or newbies?
Well, I try to make it as uncomplex as possible. You give them a game where you can basically spell out everything down the road. Like if I want to introduce somebody to D&D, I won't start with Pathfinder. I'll introduce them to D&D through the original basic set, or through the Holmes edition basic sets, or Minster, or something that where you can make up a character in 5 minutes, hand it out, and that's what I've got locally. I'm starting a game for beginners, which is I made up like one character from every class in the basic set, and would put a little bio, 1-paragraph bio on the back of the character, and I'm gonna hand them out and let them play, and everything they need is right there on the sheet in detail, describe the detail. Plus, I'm always open for questions if they don't understand something.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think my problem is there's so much to read or whatnot, and I'm trying to do it all, take it all in, I guess. What kind of advice would you offer to somebody like me who's trying to, I guess, because my problem is I'm going to end up being the dungeon master or whatnot, and we're all starting from scratch. What kind of advice might you have for somebody like me?
Well, it would help if you find, I think a licensed game in this case would be perfect, because if you find a setting you like, it's usually easier to wade through that material. But, like the Modiphius system the Peter's system is fairly easy. My Little Pony uses all the dice, the D20, the D10, etc., the whole range of the polyhedral set. But all your stats are based on a die code. So you either got D6 or D10 or D12, and they increase as it goes. And the book does a really good job explaining what these codes mean and how you do it, how you go about it. I was able to make up a character from the day I got the book within like 10 minutes because the character creation system was so easy.
That's what the My Little Pony book?
It's called Tales of Equestria. It's from Ninja Division.
Cool beans. Yeah, I've seen that one. Like for Robert Asprin's The Cold Cash War, would somebody need to get the basic, the main, I don't know what they call them, but the main rule book for Savage Worlds or the other one, and then this setting book?
They would for the Savage Worlds version. The Cephas and Savage version will be self-contained. So it will have all the rules.
Okay, cool.
Licensing requires Savage World games to refer back to Pinnacle's core Savage World book.
Okay, cool. So, if somebody backs Kickstarter, when do and the funds and whatnot, when would they anticipate getting the new setting book? I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Well, right now, our release goal is December of 2018.
Okay, cool. So December of 2018. Let's see here. And I don't know if somebody, hopefully they haven't been, but per se somebody's fallen asleep at the road, and so they wake up just in time to dodge the semi on the road, and they catch the rest of the podcast or whatnot. Why should they take a chance on this particular setting?
Well, I think it's one of Robert's more fascinating settings. I'm also a fan of his other settings, the Fool's Company and the Myth series. He also did These Worlds. But this one is one book. It's self-contained, and it does a lot of things that you don't really expect. I mean, before this book, I would never have thought of corporations going to physical, literal war against each other. Because you hear about corporate wars on the news, and it's, some company did this or that. They didn't turn around and go, we dispatched an army to take out your army, because we want your stock prices to drop.
Cool. So let's see. So if we were sitting down at the table or whatnot, and we're playing this, how would play look? I guess it would look like those systems or whatnot. But when you say they're going to war against each other in the corporate world, what's that mean? Like trying to gouge prices and stuff, or what exactly is that?
That literally means that they hire mercenaries and send them to battle, and players will pick a corporation, and the corporations are more like conglomerates. They're not, it's not one company name. It's like, instead of an oil company, the company's called oil, and communications and aerospace and etc. So whatever the product they create, that's the name of the company. And so people would decide, the GM says, okay, well, you all work for, let's say, oil, and you can pick. You can be a mercenary that's hired by the company. You could be an information broker. You could be, a corporate bigwig. Somebody who works for the corporation. And you can either, if you get like a full military campaign, you play it like a military game. Where your group goes to battle and takes out the enemy. And there are two levels of play, which would be, the regular, where they have this thing called kill suits. Is, they register hits on the body and shut that part of the body down, rather than actual death. And then there is the assassination level, which in the book, somebody decides to go from just the regular war games to actually taking out their opponent. And so if you play on that level, then you can actually be, if you're caught breaking into somebody else's thing under corporate espionage, you could literally be shot. And the other way, you could just be detained and stripped of your whatever you learned and sent on, kind of arrested or stuff like that.
Well, there you go. Sounds like it's got a little bit of everything for everybody. So yeah. So if you're driving or whatnot, make sure you go ahead and check out stop driving, of course. First, everybody pull off to the side of the road and go ahead and check out our show notes, because we'll have a link to this in the show notes so you can go ahead and back it. And just so that people are aware, if you're able to discuss it or whatnot, December of 2018. That seems like a long ways away, doesn't it?
It does, but that gives us time to not only complete the game, get the art completed, get the book approved by the Asprin Estate, because they have final approval on everything we do, send it to layout, and then send it to get it out to backers.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that makes a little bit more sense. So thank you for that. Let's see here. And now going on to our next section. I don't know if you listened to any of the podcasts, but after we do a section called AAA, and don't worry, it's not. Well, recently somebody told me it's not AAA, not the people who will come pick you up on the side of the road. Before I was saying it's not Alcoholics Anonymous, but they pointed out that I was using too many A's. It is actually the Adventures in Application Acquisition. Now, Jonathan, is there an application that you use, whether it be for role-playing games or just it doesn't have to be necessarily role-playing, but any kind of application you use, whether it be on a cell phone or a tablet or a computer or even a video game that you use that we can talk about for a minute?
Creation programs and stuff like that?
Yeah, just any kind of application. It doesn't have to be related to role-playing games. It can be anything.
I'm a fan of both the Hero Lab, Character Builder, and PCGen. And I use them both depending on what.
Do you have a favorite one?
No, because both. It depends on what I am doing with them. PCGen has a lot of additional game settings that are D20 based that I can use to build characters. But Hero Lab has a lot more of the official Pathfinder books in it, which I build characters out of there too. For both of them, we're building expansion packs for our own material to go into it. So, these are things that take some time, but so we're building it slowly. But yeah, I like them both, and I think depending on what you need to do with it and how quickly you want material added. Now, I say that, and it sounds like I'm disparaging the people at PCGen, and I'm not. Quite the opposite. They have a complete team of volunteers to do all this work, and you know how it is if you've got a day job too. Things like building
for sure.
packs for PCGen put you on that takes a breather, puts it on the sideline somewhere. But they're really good. They build it as quickly as they can. If you have a problem, at least I've been able to contact them directly and say, hey, I've got a problem with this, and they'll help me fix it. I have similar issues with Hero Lab. If I have a problem, they will help me get through it. So the only difference is depending on your budget. PCGen is free. Hero Lab costs you money.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like they have really good customer service, so that's awesome. I know I hate these places where it's been a while since I've had to do it, but you have a computer and you have to call overseas or whatnot, and then you have to send your computer to them and all that stuff. Yeah, I would rather prefer customer service where they're going to be pretty helpful. So that's good. So if you own the rights to either of these applications, what would be one thing that you would do to make them better, Jonathan?
Both of them, I would try to make the stuff more integral. I tend to mix and match a lot of material in my own personal style. And sometimes that requires me to stop and write a script to add that material to whatever I'm doing. For example, in my current Starfinder game that I'm running, I'm using Starfinder, Pathfinder, and 3.0 and 3.5 books from D&D. So all of them are not combined into one setting. I have to kind of add the material manually as I go. And if there was some kind of script that would allow it to just import it into wherever you're doing, that would be very helpful. I'm not a programmer, so that may not be possible.
Okay.
But if it were, that would be the one thing I would implement.
Okay, so you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. That's one thing that Jonathan would fix. So I don't know if they are, but hopefully they are, or maybe this will be green content. So if you're ever listening and you hear this podcast, you can go ahead and fix that and make Jonathan a lot happier. But it sounds like you got to keep your customer service for it. Sounds like it rocks. And let's see here. Yeah, we wanted to, let's see, Jonathan, minus coming to your hometown and stalking you, how would people go about finding you?
Find me on Facebook or you can find me on Google Plus, both as Jonathan M. Thompson. You can always send me messages through Drive-Thru RPG as well from the Battlefield Press site, or you can go to www.battlefieldpress.com. But I would use that as a last resort. Our website needs to be updated badly. We just don't have the manpower to do it. Right now, our goals are to produce games, and I don't want to take a time away from production of games to, build a website, which, I know it needs to be done in this day and age, but it's just not on our priority list.
And that's okay, cool. So yeah, and then where would be the best place if they are interested in any of your settings? Where would be the best place for them to get those? Would that be the RPG drive-thru or whatever it is?
Or you can go to your local comic store or game store and ask them to order it. We're available in distribution. Most of the major distribution centers carry us.
We wanted to thank you again for coming on the podcast to talk about your Kickstarter and the role-playing game, Robert Asprin's The Cold Cash War. Thanks for joining us on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, Jonathan.
Thank you. I was very happy to be. I appreciate being on here. It was good to talk to you.
Kickstarter Corner. I'm Princess Leaf, and I hurted my toe, and then Gamer Leaf is with me.
Yep. Sorry about your toe to hear about that. So yeah, now we're on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. This is Kickstarter Corner. So what are we talking about today? Cheese Quest. We just had them on the show. Hopefully you'll be able to hear them on Wednesday. And then let's see, also Cheese Quest. The quest for cheese. So yeah, those are some really cool games. We'll make sure we leave the podcast notes on them, so you can back them and whatnot. So go ahead and tell us about some of them, the ones you know.
Scrooge is where you're trying to out Scrooge.
And
I don't know what that means, though.
Yeah, well, Scrooge was getting a lot of money, and he was always rich and had a lot of money. So you're trying to, and he was like really, he didn't want to share any of it. So you're trying to out Scrooge him. And then what else do we got?
We have Arcade Fighter, and they're back again. Yeah.
What can you tell us about Arcade Fighter?
Cool miniatures, and you can paint them.
Wait, I think you're talking about... She's talking about Dawn of the Archmage, are you?
Sorry, guys.
So tell us, what are you talking about?
Dawn of the Archmage.
Okay, tell us about it then.
So it's just got back in, and it just started a few days ago, and...
It started on the 12th.
Yeah, and it has some cool figures.
Some cool miniature figurines.
And you can paint them.
Yeah, you can paint them. And it's kind of like... Summoner Wars. And then let's see really quickly, we have Jonathan Thompson's game, The Cold Cash War by Robert Asprin. That's going to be a great RPG game. We have Ancient Artifacts. What do you remember about Ancient Artifacts?
You're trying to find ancient artifacts and trying to get rid of everybody that's in your way. And it's related to Indiana Jones and Larry the Cucumber from VeggieTales, and the Magic Hairbrush.
And Arcade Fighter is where you're bringing you're bringing Arcade Fighter like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter to the table. And then Swords and Cells, let's see here. Let's go ahead and find out what that's all about, so you can tell them a little bit about, let's see here.
Arcade Fighter is also related to Street Fighter.
Okay, yeah, we did. I forgot.
We also have a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we do have a YouTube channel, so that's cool.
Doesn't know how to search it.
Actually, it did come up under what I told you. It came up. You just gotta make sure the capitalizes and stuff is right. So, Swords and Cells. What can you tell us about this one, Princess Leaf?
Swords and Cells is an epic quest and dimension.
It's an epic conquest and diplomacy game
about leading your armies and fleets through
medieval Europe
in 108.
In 1000 AD. And so that's a little bit about that one.
And it will be going on for
until the third.
It will be for 25 days.
Yes, ma'am. So somewhere around the 13th of October is when it ends. Let's see here.
Then we have Wing It.
Yeah, Wing It. Tell us about Wing It.
So you're trying to tell the best story, what you would do with all the random things in your hand.
Okay, let's see here. Let's see, a few minutes. Okay, yeah, so you're trying to solve the stories and whatnot. They even have, like, videos about breaking into people's houses and stuff, like how that would look. Different things that you can do. So let's see here. So that's great. Cheese Quest. Do you know about Cheese Quest, Princess Leaf? Yeah, it's a newer one. So let's tell you all about it. Let's go ahead. Let's see here. Find it here. Let's see what I got here. Cheese Quest. I just barely had him on the show, and so you'll be able to hear all about it coming up. But it's a little bit, they just barely, while we were recording, they reached 50% of their goal. What can you tell us about it, Princess Leaf?
This is be crafty,
strategic,
and fast. You'll split your time between progress and sabotage at your race to return 2 cheeses to the nest.
Yeah.
They've pledged
$6,060.
Out of 12,000. They have 96 backers, and when you hear this, it will be going like 23 or 24 days.
Yeah, 23 more days. Well, yeah, probably 21 days. So about 3 weeks left. It ends on the 12th of October. Well, no, actually, she was right. 23 days. I was thinking about when you'll hear the interview. You'll hear the interview in about it has about 21 days left. So just wanted to let you know that. And so that's what's going on with Cheese Quest. It's got some really cool art. Look at these mice and the cats. They got cats trying to catch the little funny mice. What do you think?
I like the cats, not the mice.
You like the cats and mice? I thought cats scare you.
Not a fan of mice, really.
They're both kind of scary, huh? Yeah, we don't care about little animals. We had a hamster before the kids were here.
Mom did.
Yeah, me and Lady Leaf had a hamster before the kids come along, but
my mom had one when she was younger.
And she had one when she was younger. Let's see here. And let's see, that's great. So let's see here. Well, what should we do now, Princess Leaf? Anything else?
Off.
So go ahead, let's sign off then. We'll catch you on the
foreground
or flip side. So yeah, thank you for joining us. And I want to thank our Patreons.
Oh yeah, we have a new one.
It's let's see here. Yeah, our new one was. Do you remember his name?
No, I'll just tell you a few that I know. Jennifer Longworth, who sometimes edits our podcasts. Let's see, Axel.
We don't even know the last name. Don't know how to pronounce it. Let us know. If you're listening, let us know. What else do we got? The new person is Oinks. And then we have Ethan Ireland, Ronald Gagnon, and
everythingboardgames.com,
which is Dane Trimble over there. So thank you all for donating to our Patreon. Yeah, thanks for signing in and signing up for our Patreon. And let's see, once again, we wanted to tell everybody, if you can, we would really love your reviews on iTunes. They really help us out. During this last week, we jumped up from 2% to 3% in the UK, but back down to 2%. So if you're in the UK, make sure you're telling your friends.
UK is.
It's like England and Scotland and all that fun stuff. So yeah, whatever
England?
the UK is. I think so. If you're in the UK and you know what's in the UK, make sure you let us know so we can be able to know and let Little Leaf know, let Princess Leaf know, and that'd be great. And also, once again, a shout out. I haven't heard from him yet, but if you're in the Ukraine and you listen to this, let us know a little bit more about how you found us and how we're doing over there. Make sure you're leaving reviews. But yeah, shout out to those in Ukraine. Give us an email over at gamerleaf@gamerleafgo.com, kind of like Pokemon Go, but gamerleafgo.com. Send us an email. Let us know what's going on in the great Ukraine.
And they have some of them. The games have a competition or something.
Yeah, there's giveaways going on.
In the giveawaygeeks.com.
Yeah, without an S. The giveawaygeek.com. There's a lot of competitions going on. Well, once again, I know we tried to do it before, but once again, we'll go ahead and sign off. And how do we sign off, Princess Leaf?
We say catch you on the floor.
Catch you on the floor or the flip side. Peace out until next time.
Peace out. I'm making a peace sign right now.
Yeah, you can't see it, but she's making a peace sign. She'd be a great hippie, maybe. Maybe not. I know I wanted to be... She's not a hippie. I wanted to be a hippie. Well, catch you on the flip side, or the floor, as Princess Leaf likes to put it.
Or, if you're eating ketchup, sign in and give a like.
Yeah, make sure you like us. Like our Facebook page, like our follow us on Twitter, all of the social medias.
Tell us in the comments in our YouTube videos.
What you'd like.
Tell us if you're eating ketchup.
I guess you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf. Peace out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.